So let's do a Kerby page. I've picked one from World Within Worlds by, of course, Kerby Rosanes. I've not done a Kerby page in a long time. So I've got everything ready. And I've chosen to use a cheaper watercolour paint today. The Paul Rubens. I might turn that music down just a little bit. Now if you're wondering, I'm using a copyrighted music, and the channel, if you want to use it in your channel, is the Relaxed Movement. It's really nice music, so I thought I'd have that on the background today. And I've pulled 3 sheets out, and I only needed 2. So just get these sheets off Amazon, and they're perfect for protecting the page behind. I even use these, cut them up, use them for different size boots. So I cut them up and use them as little palettes. So this is the plan. Now for this video, part 1, I will do the whole page in watercolour, because I want to base the whole page in watercolour. I did almost use acrylic paint, but I've decided to use watercolour, and then I will let it dry for a while and then come back to do the details in part 2. So I'm hoping it'll just be a 2-part video for you, and then I'll pop it both together as a little time lapse, as long as it turns out alright. So this is just a little bit of washi tape. I'm still having absolute nightmares with tape, so I'm just going back to the Kenji brand. I picked this up from the Trafford Centre a while ago. Last time that I went in, they didn't have it, unfortunately, but they've got other ones that are similar. Just put 2 layers of that on. Now it's not overly sticky, this stuff, you can see there, so it's not like I have to put it on my pants. It's not too bad, this stuff. Now these paints, let's get them activated. Let's get my water ready. My little pipette. I'm not too sure what colour I'm using, so I'm just going to activate the whole lot. I do know that I want a galaxy background, because it's obviously a galaxy drawn in. And then my idea as well is, once I've finished nearly everything, I'm going to go over the glass of the astronaut's suit and make it sort of cloudy, to make it not as vibrant so the background pops out. That's what I'm hoping to do. I might use like a watered down ink. Now from what I remember, these paints don't take ages and ages to activate, so I want to get a couple of different sizes. One of my paintbrushes, I've got glitter from the last time that I used them. I can't remember if it was this brush or there was another one that I got. Yeah, it was this one. I've got the exact same one, luckily, that's not got glue on it. Yeah, so that's the gluey one, and this is the pristine one. Do I want to stick with the big one? It doesn't have to be perfect, that's why I thought stick with the bigger one to get the area filled in a little bit quicker, but now that I'm looking at this, I'll go with the size 6. So the Galaxy, I think I'll do my go-to one, purples, blues and pinks. So we'll start off with the pinks. I do need more water because I'm going to go straight into the pan. I'm not mixing any colours, I'm just going to use the colours that are already here. And just go straight in. And they are really pigmented, these paints, as you can see. Now, I would be mindful, if you really like the page behind this one, I'd probably be a little bit more careful than I'm being. But I'm not too fussed about the page behind this one. Now really, I just want to get this colour down as quick as possible. I'll move this everywhere. And it will go through a bit of a mess stage. Is really trust the process. You could go ahead and use some masking fluid around these edges and for the planets, but in all honesty I can't be bothered, so I'm being really lazy and just trying to be a bit careful. Watercolour does dry as well a little bit lighter than what you're seeing here. We'll deepen it up a bit here as well. Just gone over that planet a little bit, not to worry. And I want a little bit more pink around the top. Now the trick that I've found with Galaxies is adding up plenty of pigment and making sure that it stays wet. Let's test that purple, perfect. Just add that in. Now, I won't be using the heat gun for this one this time, especially because I've got them plastic sheets. It will just melt it. Just add a little bit more water. And this is layer 1. So it's going to take some patience. I think the suit, I might do a grey colour. I'll have to try and find a reference online. Like a grey, maybe a cool grey. Just keep adding more. I knew that this would be a messy one, that's why I just took up my matte. I'm filling all the remaining areas and then I can add my darker blues over the top of this. Just fill all that in. Got this little area down here. Little tiny area here as well. There should be enough pigment on this brush now for me to finish this area off. But what I am going to do in that area is clean my brush off, take off a tiny bit of the water just to blend some of them edges out. I don't like really harsh lines like here. And then we've got this small area down here. Clean my brush off again. Blend some of these edges out. So the blue that I need to use, it does need to be, or I might, let's just test, yeah, that should be okay. That's more of a turquoise blue. And just dab that in certain areas, but I do want a navy blue as well. Clean my brush off. Blend some of them edges. And back in the pigment again. Put some in the very centre. Not forgetting that this is not watercolour paper as well, so it will be quite angry, the amount of water that I'm putting on. But as long as that doesn't bother you, and you can always iron the page when you've finished. The trick is, don't be scared. Don't be scared to add more and more. So I want a little bit of a darker purple. Let's add some more water. just dab in here. And these areas that I'm putting out, it is really wet, so the paint will just do whatever it wants to do. The fun part of this will be the adding the stars, which I might make a cutout for this to cover it up when I do the stars, and maybe some of the planets as well. And then the last thing I'm going to do in the first layer is just add back some of that pink that we've lost. That's the colour that I want to stand out the most, the pink. And I think that's really, apart from this area here, that's all we can do with that first layer before the paper starts really shouting at you. Let's clean that edge. And then I will time it and see how long it does actually take for this to dry. We are almost at 3 o'clock now. I don't want to risk. Well, I suppose I could do this area. I could do the centre and then do this very last. Because if I painted this area, it's just going to bleed into each other. So I suppose I could do that. I don't want these colours really, really bright. I want them, yeah, sort of muted actually. Pick up some colours. Let's water them down quite a bit. Like for the trees. While that is still wet as well, I get my smaller paintbrush, which is a size 4, and pick up a different green. Just add some variation here and there to break it up a bit, so it's not all one colour. That'll dry really nicely, that. Then we'll do the trees the same. Then in with that darker green and more water. Just here and there. And then we'll do this area next. Oh, this is all grass, isn't it? So I'll do that all the same colour. Try and not get it on the pyramid. And then we've got a little deer there as well. Try and be careful of that. Trying to get it filled in as quick as possible, but try and still be neat. And then the darker green. Just here and there, wherever. And then we've got this tree here. If you've never used watercolours in colouring boots, please do try. It is daunting when you first do it, but the more practice you get, the more confidence, and it's so much fun. And you can just go back in once it's all dried with your pencils to add them really nice details. So in with that green. Or if you really get good with watercolour, just use watercolour. So the sky, that's what we need to do next. Oh, we've missed some there. I bet you were shouting at me. Let's get these filled in. And in with the darker green. Actually, I think I'll do the pyramid. Yeah, I'll do the pyramid. So I do see a really nice orange shade here. But I don't want it that dark. Just deepen it up a little bit, add more water. Might even add a darker brown. That might be better. Same idea with this pyramid, is I want to keep this as wet as I can. So I'm going to deepen it up in certain areas. I want it to make it look like it is old. So go in with a brown shade and just like that, do what it wants to do. You know, so it's not looking like shiny and new. Just like that. I don't think that looks too bad actually. And then for the sky, I want a really light navy blue, I think. So let's see what this one's like. Yeah, that'll do, but I'll need to add lots of water. It's a really dingy colour, almost like you're in for a rainy day colour. Just here and there. And I think they're meant to be alpacas. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just be careful around everything else. And then I think for the clouds, straight up black, but a really watered down. I'm going to mix a tiny bit of that blue in with it as well. I'm not painting the whole cloud, just areas of it. And then before that's dried, clean my brush off. Just go over some of them edges. And now it's time to let it dry before I can mess with the rest. So it's just after 3 o'clock now. So I'm guessing that this will take at least 30 to 40 minutes to completely dry because it is really, really wet. So I'll see you soon. We're about 80% the way dry, so I think we'll get away. And it's currently 25 past, so it's been about 20 minutes ish, give or take. And it is starting to bleed through, like I thought, with the amount of water just at the top here. You can see. Luckily I have got 2 copies of this book if I did want to colour the page behind it. So the same thing again, but I think I'm going to start off with the blue this time. Add some of that blue in. Oh, I need to wet my palette again. That is dried super quick. There's a really turquoise shade there. going to try a bit of this. And this one is really, really pigmented. So I'll pop that in a couple of areas. I don't want to cover up everything that I've just put down. Wet the brush. Blend some of them edges. I can be a little bit more generous with the water now that it's nearly dry. Then same with the pink, I'll use the exact same pink as what I did last time. But you see how much lighter it is before it started drying. So I'll add some there. First roll my sleeve up. This very corner, the edge. Let's get this blended out. Again, just the water that I've been using all the way through, I've not changed it yet. And I only want to add the white spots, the stars, once this is completely dry. Otherwise it'll just bleed into each other and it won't look nice at all. So purple, might try and get, I don't think there is a lighter purple. That's more of a pinky purple. Let's put some of this colour randomly. I do prefer that other purple colour. This colour feels a little bit chalky. Compared to the last purple colour. Let's get some other. Same purple too many times, I know I am. Blend that out. And the last thing, excuse me, I think I'll just add a little bit more blue. That lighter blue that I originally started off with. Blend that edge out, I don't like that edge. I'm going to pick some of that darker purple up, but I'm not that keen on that. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So I'll use the bigger brush for this, and that is still wet from before. Take off any excess, clean the brush. You're just pulling the colour back up again. And I think that is going to be it for the Galaxy background part of it. Yeah. you can mess and mess and mess. But I think that's right that now. I don't think I'm going to add any more detail to the centre of this, purely because I said about putting like a glaze over the top of it. I can add a little bit of pencil, but I don't want it to be, I don't want the eye to focus on the centre bit. Which I could do this page again and do it the opposite way around, because I do like repeating the pages that I do. So I could, it's risky me painting certain areas that the paint will still be wet. It could bleed into each other. I'll be very, very careful with the planets. Also, I'll use a smaller brush and see how I get on. Now with the planets, do I want to keep it, I could paint them grey so they match the outfit, the astronaut outfit, or I can make them their own little galaxies and do them similar colours so they sort of blend in. I'll try that and see how I feel, because I could always paint over it. So if I start off with the pink, and just try and do this as random as I can. Take my brush off, and then with the blue, leave some gaps in between. I'm going to add some water to this. Then the purple. The purple is literally just wanting to do its own thing, which I'm fine with. I'm going to leave that there just for a second. Yeah, there's going to be too many lines that I won't like, so I'll start blending it out now. Put a little bit more blue in. It's raining. Something like that. I think that looks pretty good actually. Yes, we'll do that. I'll do that with the other ones as well. I'll start off with the purple this time. And I'll put some up here as well. Might as well do both of these at the same time. But the page is sort of going like that now. So all we're going to want to go into that spine. Some of that nice blue. Then leave the rest for the pink. Could always go around these as well with a white paint pen to make them stand out a little bit more. I've got to say I do prefer this one. I think it's because the pink is showing through a lot more. Well, they're meant to be different, aren't they? So for the astronaut suit, yeah, I'm going to have a little mess around with the colours that I've got. I got a colour that I'm happy with, because I'm just going to use the same colour all over. Actually, I'll quickly do that off camera, because it'll just be block colouring. There's nothing too block painting, nothing too special about it, just to save a bit of time in the video. I'll just paint all these white areas one grey tone colour, and then maybe come back, do a second layer and shade it a little bit, and then it'll just be a case of the pencil work now and the details at the end. So I've just gone over with just this really basic grey colour, but what I did, I mixed it basically just the black with water, and then a bit of that purpley pink shade that I didn't like before, and I blended out. I popped the smallest amount of that in it just to give it the same sort of tone. Now it's not dry and it's starting to pill, so before it gets any worse, add a little bit more black and a little bit more that purpley shade just to deepen it up a little bit, and just start adding some shadows. Just make sure I've not got loads and loads on my brush though. And I put the colour down and then I'll blend it all out. I really don't want this looking perfect. If anything, I want this to look really messy. But not like messy out of the line, like messy, I've done it on purpose messy. So there is already a load of grayscale I can basically just sort of follow of a fashion, considering I'm trying to do this pretty quick before it starts drying on me. You want to make sure as well that you've got enough paint mix. You don't want to be stopping halfway through because you've run out of paint. I'm going to add a little bit more water to that. See, I'm just following where the grayscale is. Add some more here and there. So I don't want it to look perfect. And then with the same brush that I was using for nearly everything else, just get some water on it. Just get some of this moved around. Constantly adding more water, dabbing the brush off. Don't want too many lines. But that is the basic painting done. It's just going to be a case of adding a little bit of, I mean, you could leave it like this if you wanted to. I'm going to add a little bit of pencil here and there, but I am going to have to let this dry. My daughter will be home from school soon, so I'll have to leave this to dry and then come back to it probably tomorrow now. I won't have time this evening, so I will call this part 1, and part 2 will definitely get it finished. To just do a little bit of pencil work, just to detail some areas out, and then add the fun details at the end. What I might do tonight is make, I don't know what you call it, I'll just get a piece of paper, a cheap thin piece of paper, and trace round this so I can put a, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like a cover on it, so that when I'm doing the stars it won't get on this bit. I can't think of the word. It's a cover. But I hope that you enjoyed part 1, and part 2 will be up shortly after this one. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in part, I nearly said 2.